This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Well, Stellantis finally has a new CEO. Confirming reports from earlier this month, Antonio Filosa will now be in charge of leading the company, effectively taking over the role on June 23rd. He's also in line to be elected to the board as an executive director, but that still requires a shareholder meeting and vote, which is said to happen in, quote, the coming days. Stellantis had been without a leader since Carlos Tavares left in December of last year. So it was roughly a 6-month search to land on Filosa, who started his career at Fiat in 1999 and has been part of the company's executive team since Stellantis was formed in 2021. We feel like he's going to have to hit the ground running. His next step will be to announce a new leadership team. But beyond that, Filosa needs to figure out what he's going to do with Stellantis' dozen or so brands, some of which aren't performing very well. That's led to falling sales and profits, as well as $65 billion of lost market cap in the last year. And on top of that, it also looks like Filosa will need to lead a software revolution at the company. Reuters reports that Stellantis' deal with Amazon to create a more competitive in-car user experience is coming to an end. Originally announced in 2022, the partnership was part of the automaker's Smart Cockpit project, which would feature a more advanced software system. But now Stellantis will have to find other solutions, and it's not clear what those are yet. GM's EV sales are increasing, but not enough to save a $300 million investment that was supposed to go into its propulsion plant in Buffalo, New York for EV drive units. Instead, it's investing nearly $900 million to make V8s for full-size trucks and SUVs, which are GM's main source of profits. It also invested $500 million 2 years ago to make the same engines in Michigan, as well as about another $2 billion into the plants that make those vehicles and their components. We've previously reported on BYD and contractors that it used to hire Chinese workers to build a plant in Brazil being accused of human trafficking and putting the workers through slave-like conditions. Well, now labor prosecutors in Brazil have filed a lawsuit that's seeking $45 million in damages, would force the companies to comply with labor rules and fine them about $8,800 for each violation multiplied by the number of affected workers, even though those workers have already returned to China. BYD says it's been in cooperation with prosecutors and will respond to the claims in court documents. And the price war in China was already heated, but now it's expected to get even worse. Shares of the largest automakers in China dropped yesterday after BYD slashed prices on more than a dozen models, triggering fears of a deeper price war. But as we've said in the past, there are too many brands making too many vehicles, so some shakeout is expected. According to JATO Dynamics, there are 169 car companies in China, and more than half of them have less than 0.1% market share. But it's not just the automakers that have to be worried. The chairman of Great Wall Motor is warning that the price war is harming the supplier industry, and that some suppliers are at risk of failing because they're under pressure from car companies to lower prices.
Developing today's vehicles. Issues can happen in an instant. When's the best time to solve a problem? The minute you know you have one. Meet Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your secure, off-the-shelf solution empowering real-time collaboration for quick resolution. With Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your team can prevent issues before they can escalate. Driver communication data and remote diagnostics to analyze and resolve your problems using OTA, allowing your executives oversight throughout the process. Wireless NeoVi Cloud, your vehicle update solution in production and on the road. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
Toyota is serious about developing eVTOLs, or electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. And now it's the largest shareholder in flying taxi startup Joby Aviation, which is based in California. The automaker first invested in Joby in 2020 and now owns 15% of the company. It just completed the first half of a $500 million investment that it announced last year, which will bring Toyota's total investment in Joby to nearly $900 million. Joby is aiming to launch commercial services in Dubai next year, and it's still waiting for full flight certification in other countries, including the US. Rivian CEO RJ Scaringe continues to share more about the new R2. This time around, he provided a look at the rear subframe and suspension, which features a 5-link setup with stamped steel arms that he says delivers incredible ride quality and handling. That forged aluminum knuckle, dubbed Starfish by Scaringe, looks awfully expensive, and we wonder if a casting might be cheaper overall than a welded steel subframe. But Scaringe also says the company achieved its optimized cost structure. So, while it's a long way off, we'll be fascinated to see if Rivian can turn a profit with the R2. What do you think? And as I promised in yesterday's show, here's the all-new Alpine A390, the brand's first SUV, which is also all-electric. It's based on the Renault Group's AMP-R Medium platform, the new name for its CMF EV platform that it shares with Nissan, which will be used for the new Leaf and Aria that are coming this year as well. Alpine claims the platform went through a, quote, radical overhaul to deliver first-class performance. The A390 features a tri-motor setup, one motor in the front, two motors at the rear. In GT models, they combine for 400 horsepower and provide a 0 to 100 km/h time of 4.8 seconds. GTS models make 470 horsepower and can do 0 to 100, which is similar to 0 to 60 miles an hour in 3.9 seconds. Those rear motors are permanent magnet synchronous units that control each wheel independently, providing active torque vectoring, which contributes to the A390 feeling like a, quote, sports car in a suit, according to Alpine. The cells for the electric SUV, an NMC chemistry with an extra high nickel content, come from French battery maker Verkor and are specifically designed to be able to handle repeated hard accelerations while still maintaining the same performance down to 30% battery charge. This was part of an entire redesign of Verkor's 400-volt architecture, which also included an upgrade to the battery's cooling system. Total pack capacity comes to 89 kilowatt hours. For models with 20-inch wheels, it offers a range of up to 550 kilometers or 344 miles, while 21-inch wheels drop that down to 520 kilometers or 323 miles of range on the WLTP cycle. With an 11 kilowatt onboard charger or an optional 22 kilowatt unit, the A390 can provide power to other electric devices, or it also has bidirectional charging compatibility with the electrical grid. Now let's shift our focus to the interior, which is highlighted by a couple of digital displays. But you may notice a blue and red button on the steering wheel as well, which are for the drive modes and an overboost function. We'd also like to point out the 3 round buttons on the center console. Those are for reverse, neutral, and drive. Speaking of drive, let's drive this story home. The A390 is scheduled to come out in the fourth quarter of this year. Pricing for GT models starts at 65,000 euros, while GTS models start at 76,000. And we've got a quick follow-up on a story that we reported on last week. We showed you this video taken by one of our viewers of a parking lot north of Detroit filled with Teslas. You all helped us figure out they're probably storage for a nearby Tesla store. But Crane's Business Detroit reports the landlord of that shopping center has been notified they're in violation of the suburb's code for storing vehicles in the lot. So the Teslas will likely be forced out. And that brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for making Autoline a part of your day.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Intrepid Control Systems. Over-the-air engineering boost your game. Teijin Automotive Technologies, the formula for better mobility. And by
There's nothing wrong with heavy metal.
Hey, lighten up.
But with world-class composite material, Teijin Automotive Technologies makes vehicles lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly.